Yeah, and welcome to Greek mathematics. Today we're learning about Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans. Very important in Greece. All right, so Pythagoras. He was born on the island of Samos, which is located in the southern Aegean Sea. It's a port town, kind of a hub of learning and trading. It's kind of where Pythagoras got his start in the world, actually. He was born in 570 BC and died in 495 BC. Lived to be 85 years old. Accomplished quite a bit in his lifetime. When he was born during the Peloponnesian Wars, and shortly after he died, the Persians, focus of the Peloponnesian Wars, they invaded Greece, and we'll get more into that later. So, just a factoid. Um, Greece's position in the world was one of great significance, actually, during Pythagoras' lifetime. The Greece, specifically Athens, was a cultural hub for philosophy and mathematics. That's important for us. And Sparta was one of military might. Shortly after his death, when Persia invades, uh, the Greeks, who were outnumbered, kind of like 100 to 1, end up actually pushing the Persians out of Greece a number of times, which is very important. It shows how strong they were as a country this long ago. Shortly, yeah. Um, yeah, so it's just basically a hub. This is kind of where Pythagoras got his start. He's known as the Ionian philosopher, and he did a lot of his work in Greece. He traveled to Greece, he traveled to Egypt, he kind of traveled around the Mediterranean. He actually made his school in a place called like Greater Greece, which is actually in southern Italy. This is kind of where a lot of philosophers came to. They flocked to him just because he was a very prominent figure at this time. And so that's kind of where Greece was in the world and where Pythagoras was in this Greek world. So what kind of math was he interested? Turns out Pythagoras may not have had any interest in math at all. Um, his name is obviously on this very big a squared plus b squared equals c squared Pythagorean theorem. It is taught everywhere, very important. And you think, oh, obviously he made it up because it's his name, right? Well, turns out maybe not. What it turns out is that the way he ran his school, he ran it a bit like a cult. Not necessarily a bad thing, but maybe not a good thing either. What he did is anyone that worked at the school, anyone that learned at the school, taught at the school, they had to give any credit for anything that they discovered or made up or whatever to Pythagoras. And so that's how it ended up being called Pythagorean theorem, is because one of his students, one of his teachers, discovered this cool trick with the boxes and the angles and the numbers, and they gave him credit for it. So when historians look at it, they found that Pythagoras wrote almost nothing about math. He wrote almost nothing about having any interest in anything other than philosophy, and he was very into philosophy and he was very good at philosophy, but not so much with the mathematics. And it actually turns out that they may have stolen it from the Babylonians. Certainly, the Babylonians, they should have been practicing the theorem long before the Pythagoras or any of the Pythagoreans. Pythagoreans being people that went to Pythagoras' school. Pythagoreans. Um, Turns out that they'd figured it out long before. They hadn't really like proved it. They hadn't like written it down and been like, this works. But like they had definitely used it in a lot of their architecture and a lot of their mathematical thinking. Contributions to mathematics. Pythagorean theorem. That's the big one. That's the important one. He had some small ones that are claimed by the Pythagoreans. Debatably, historians give it to them, but really they're so general that they could have been discovered by anyone and aren't really discoveries. But the other two discoveries were that the sum of triangle angles are always 180 degrees, and then the generalization that the sum of the interior angles of a polygon with n sides is equal to 2n minus 4. So very exciting. Obviously, this is important stuff, but not, I mean, it's groundbreaking at the time, but now it's fairly simple. And yes, it is obviously still taught today. We all learn this in school as early as potentially, like, I don't know, fifth grade, definitely in elementary school. I definitely remember it in middle school and obviously in high school. It's definitely still taught today. Um, Used in a lot of stuff, mostly for teaching. Um, Triangles, very important. I also learned that the 180 degrees are the sum of all three triangles in school. Really, I learned all three of these things in school. They're fairly rudimentary things, but they are really based to the understanding of geometry in like mathematics. It's very important. All right. Thank you very much for listening. I want you to like, subscribe, and comment because that's important. And I will have some practice problems. And I mean, it's not complicated, but I'll have practice problems in the description so that you can work on that because you never know. It could be important. So just make sure you do that. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.